What's up, everyone? Andy from WagerTalk.com for another episode of Life in the Fast Lane. Should have a great weekend of racing. We've got the restrictor plate race at Talladega for NASCAR, and we are going to have a night race in Singapore. It's going to be a morning race to watch, but over in Singapore, it's going to be night, and it's visually a beautiful race to watch. It's a rough race. We'll get into it a little bit later, but should be a really good betting weekend in Formula One. We're not going to be doing too many bets, probably not any on the restrictor plate races, as we're just trying to play it safe here because we went 2-0 last week, 4% plays cashed. So the dream season continues. We're back up over 60% for the year, and we're up over 35 units for the year. So just could not be happier, and we keep cashing these tickets as the racing season is starting to wind down. So I'm going to be playing it just a little bit cautious because I want to protect that record, but Formula One has a lot of really, really good spots, and our best bet this week is actually going to be in Formula One. So let's start with NASCAR. We'll do a Texas recap. What a disastrous race. So Kyle Larson wins stage 1, Ryan Blaney wins stage 2, and Tyler Reddick wins the race. So when I'm watching these races, I have my notes here. And I'm just going to read you these notes because you all know what happened at this NASCAR race. And so here's how my notes go. The race starts, the track is slippery, grooves are difficult to hit in the turns. Truex gets out of the groove and spins. Kyle Busch spins and wrecks. He's out. Ty Dillon hits Stenhouse. Stenhouse spins. William Byron has a good car. Kyle Larson was running good. Tyler Reddick running good. And Denny Hamlin running good. Christopher Bell gets a flat tire. During the yellow, Cole Custer gets a flat tire. Alex Bowman gets a flat tire. Cody Ware with a scary wreck. Almost hits the brake in the pit wall. That could have been a very dangerous accident. I mean, we're talking just barely missing that brake in the pit wall. If he hits that wall head on, he's in danger, and the pit crew members that were around him are in danger. So prayers up that did not happen. He got checked out, and no further injuries. Didn't need to stay at the hospital. So thank God on that one. Back to racing. Chase Elliott is leading. He loses a tire, flat tire, wrecks bad. Blaney wins stage 2. Then the rain comes in, as if the track wasn't slick enough. Race starts up again. Chris Buescher, flat tire. Kevin Harvick, flat tire. Truex ends up in the lead after pit stops. And then Brad Doherty, if you were watching, he's one of the announcers. He just kind of gave up. He was just like, I don't know. This is scary. I don't know what we're doing here. These tires are out of control. But then again, it's racing. Maybe you can put more air in them. I don't know. So we had an announcer almost just give up on the race in the middle. Right after that, Truex gets a flat tire and wrecks. Reddick leads, looks great. Cindric and Stenhouse wreck. And then Reddick just brings it home for the win. So massive problems. Congratulations if you were on the over in the yellow flags or cautions prop. It was just a ridiculously scary and embarrassing race for NASCAR and the tire manufacturers. You're in the playoffs, and you just cannot have that many cars with flat tires. It's just such a black eye on the sport, and they're just going to keep going. That you can't delay races. You can't take weeks off. We're in the playoffs, so these guys are just going to have to deal with it. So we got a restrictor plate race. Hopefully we don't have to have an issue with that. I know we got a road course coming up, so hopefully we don't have issues there. So maybe they have some time to fix the tires, but it's just going to be fingers crossed that these guys don't get hurt. So your top 5 for the race ended up being Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano, Justin Haley, Ryan Blaney, and Chase Briscoe. So Tyler Reddick had been eliminated from the playoffs last race. This is now 4 races in a row in the playoffs that have been won by a driver not in the playoffs. That is like a 1,000,000 to 1 shot. Like that just should not happen. But when you have such chaotic races and so many wrecks, you just end up with these bizarre finishes. The Stenhouse Award, I mean, my gosh, where do you start? I'm not going to go through each individual flat tire. That's not their fault. And the Stenhouse Award is based on the biggest bonehead move or the biggest misstep. I'll start with Bubba Wallace has to come in early, make adjustments to something with the steering wheel column at the beginning of the race. He goes a lap down. Brad Keselowski starts on the pole, runs good for a little bit, and then gets caught speeding on the first pit stop, so he loses all of his track position. Harrison Burton's car catches on fire in the pits, has to be mentioned. We do have to throw NASCAR and the tire manufacturer in there. But the winner has to be Denny Hamlin. First, he gets into it with Kyle Larson, and then William Byron. So Byron retaliates, pushes Hamlin off the track into the infield. Hamlin loses a bunch of track positions. So then him and Byron are playing, patty cake during the caution. Hamlin's bumping Byron, Byron's bumping Hamlin. This has to be a winner. First off, both these guys are in the playoffs each other around. And it's like there's not enough danger with these right side tires going flat all race. You guys want to add more danger by trying to wreck each other. And then just the cherry on top, William Byron gets a 25-point penalty for his actions in the race. It takes him from inside the playoffs to outside the playoffs. He's now on the bubble because of all that nonsense. Also, Ty Gibbs, we got to admit, he got fined for aggressive driving in the pits. That's his second of the season. So we got two guys that get fined, but William Byron and Denny Hamlin certainly are the winners of the Stenhouse Award. I have no idea what got into those guys. I mean, most guys were just hoping they finished the race, but no, Hamlin and Byron have to be running into each other because the flat tires aren't scary enough. So let's look at the playoff standings. With William Byron out, and it's now Logano, Chastain, Larson, and Blaney. That's your top four. And on the bubble, Cindric, Byron, Christopher Bell, and Alex Bowman. So those guys are going to have to make some waves here at the restrictor plate race, and it's a tough track and a tough race. It's it's kind of a coin flip whether you're going to finish or not. So this week's race is Talladega, and I just don't bet on restrictor plate races. I know that's not very exciting, but I like to protect my bankroll. I like to protect your bankrolls. I just don't think you should be betting on this race. The only way that I might bet on it is if I'm looking at stage props on Bovada. A friend of mine, Dan, shout out to Dan, has been crushing these stage props. I used to give them out, but I try not to because a lot of people don't have the websites, and they're only available at one sportsbook. So if I do anything, I'll just probably post it on social media. Follow me at Bump Sports, but I probably won't put it up on Wager Talk because just hardly anybody has access to that. But stage one head-to-head matchups have been good this year. If you have access to them, that might be the only way I will bet Talladega. Let's take a trip to the Slipstream. Formula One is back. We're going to be racing at Singapore. We mentioned the time difference. So it's the rate you can watch the race at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, but it's going to be a night race. So it's a brutal track on the drivers. The drivers have said this is the most physically demanding track probably all season. It has 23 corners. It's bumpy. The weather is going to be hot and humid. There are a ton of chicanes. It's very hard to pass on. And to add to it, it's mostly enclosed. I think all of it is enclosed. So if you have any accident, it's going to bring out the virtual safety car, most likely the safety car. And it's going to be brutal on these guys. So with the temperatures and the combined texture of the track, expect this to be really physically demanding on these guys. They were saying they measured how much water some of the drivers lost the last time they raced here, and it was the highest amount of any race they had in that season. So a couple of, little tidbits. Keep an eye on Alexander Albon. The last race, he had to go to the hospital and have his appendix taken out, and I guess he had complications, and he had like some legit respiratory failures. This is his first race back, and I don't think he's 100%. I was reading about it, and it sounds like this is going to be a really brutal race for him. If you can fade Alex Albon, I think I might do that. There's a chance if the race is too physically demanding, he might not be able to finish. So I can't imagine if he's not 100%, he's going to have a lot of speed. So take a look at Albon and fading him. The Alpines are going to bring some new updates. They're fighting with Mercedes for that fourth spot on the Constructors' Championship. So, even though they're not in the top three, make no mistake, the Alpines and McLarens really, really want to win. So Alpines are going to bring some new tech updates. I'm not sure how drastic it's going to be. We'll take a look at them in first practice and second practice. It might be sneaky to maybe look at fading Alpines in the first practice, because if they have these new updates and they're not quite dialed in and they need that first practice to really, really figure it out and dial it in, they might not be very fast. So something to throw out there. Let's get to the best bet. And Yeah, listen, I know this is Chalky McChalkerson, but I think you got to grab Max Verstappen right now to win. If you're going to play Max to win, get him now. If he ends up on the pole, you know what these odds are going to be. You can grab him at minus 190 at some books. If he's fast in practice, you know what the odds are going to do. If he's on the pole, this is going to be minus 270. There are 3 DRS zones at this track. That is going to help Max if he's behind and needs to pass. And with the adjustments that the Red Bulls made for the porpoising, I think their cars should be able to deal with these bumpy surfaces pretty good. I think they're probably best suited to deal with this. We saw Mercedes have trouble earlier. They've fixed it kind of, but we read that story about the Red Bulls finding that different compound that other cars are using in between the brakes or in between the sections of the bottom of the car that has made them much faster on these bumpy tracks. So outside of a crazy pit strategy, an accident, I don't see who challenges Verstappen at this point, especially if he gets out front. It's just so hard to pass here. And I'm not sure where the passing can take place if you're behind Verstappen. One prop that I do want to tell everyone be very cautious about is that prop about winning like over 10 seconds. This track, if there's any type of accident, they're going to bring out the yellow, and you could see a safety car late. So even if Max is out to a big lead, any type of caution is going to bunch the field up, and you're going to have a safety car. So I would be a little worried about that one. But to play it safe, just grab Max now. I think these are the best odds that you're going to get. So. All right, guys, that's going to do it. All plays are going to be up at WagerTalk.com. We're having a fantastic year. We will have multiple Formula One plays for the Singapore race. Probably nothing on the restrictor plate race. Let's have a profitable weekend. Let's keep this amazing season going. We just keep cashing week after week. Really proud of the work that we've been doing. Thanks for joining. Let's have a profitable weekend, and I will see everyone next week on Life in the Fast Lane.